In this exercise, we'll open the existing Microsoft Excel sample file using both Google Workspace and LibreOffice's spreadsheet programs. So, let's start by uploading the WTB New Company 2020 Excel file to your Google Drive and open it using Google Sheets. The Working TB tab looks very familiar. The logo is different, but by and large everything is still there. We'll record the same additional sales entry we did in the previous exercise and check how it is reflected in the other tabs using Google Sheets. Before we go to the AJEs tab, check that the total in cell F5 of the Worksheet TB tab shows a $188,000 loss. We first record the entry and then check back on the Working TB tab to make sure the balance has been updated. And there it is. Just like we saw with Excel, the pivot table needs to be updated. So let's take a look at the menus and see if we can refresh the pivot table. However, it doesn't like updating Excel's pivot table. It wants to create its own. So let's create a new pivot table in a new worksheet. But when I tried, it just got confusing. So let's go back to the Working TB tab and select the range that we want to summarize in a pivot table. In the Working TB tab, we'll select the entire set of accounts from cell number A6 to J64. Then we'll try to insert a pivot table. The result is promising. We get a new pivot table tab. The range shown in the pivot table editor matches the selected range in the Working TB. Next, we have to figure out how to format a pivot table in Google Sheets. If we think about what we want to display, we want to display the values in the final and prior columns for each Jiffy code. So let's add the values of the final and prior columns to the pivot table. We'll also need each row of the table to represent one of the Jiffy accounts. In other words, we want to summarize the current and prior year of the trial balance by Canada Revenue Agency's standard chart of accounts. So, we'll add rows for Jiffy number and Jiffy name. Okay. Let's see what we get. We're getting close. We'll just need to uncheck the Show Totals box for Jiffy and Jiffy name. Eureka! It worked, and the sum of the balance sheet accounts equals the current year net loss on the Working TB tab. As we can see, Google Sheets is functionally equivalent to Microsoft Excel for using the CLOUDWARE tool. The Google Sheets pivot tables aren't directly compatible with Excel, but they are pretty slick in their own right. The good news with LibreOffice is that when we load the CLOUDWARE file into LibreOffice Calc, it functions identically. After posting the $5,000 entry, the pivot table can simply be refreshed. When I first tested the compatibility with LibreOffice, I did notice that Jiffy name column in the Working TB tab wasn't functioning correctly. It was reported as not applicable, as shown in line 21 of the AJEs tab. I quickly corrected the formula so that it would work in LibreOffice and then saved it from within LibreOffice in Microsoft's native Excel format. To be honest, I forget what I changed. But just to be sure, I reopened the file with Excel and made sure that it still worked with both programs. In the AJEs tab, the reported not applicable result in row 21 is actually a feature and not a bug. It is prompting the accountant to enter a value for the account number in his or her adjusting entry. After entering the account number, the accountant will either see the account name she or he is expecting, or the not applicable result. This simply means that the account number provided didn't exist in the lookup table. To summarize, we've worked with the CLOUDWARE Working Paper tool to make sure that it can easily function as a cross-platform working paper tool in any hardware or software ecosystem. Today's computing appliances are very powerful computers, no matter which operating system they support. We did our best to ensure that they work on Apple Mac, Windows, Chrome, Android, or Linux-based PCs. Whichever device you have, you can probably figure out a way to take our BAT courses.